to configure replication between two libraries using the DocAve Replicator module. I've gone ahead and logged into DocAve as a user with permissions to do this. Under the administration module, you will find the Replicator module. When you go in there, you will be presented with whether you want to do online replication or offline. The two libraries that I'm working with today are both in the same farm, so we are going to go ahead and be using online replication because there is a path and there is two locations that are both up where we can move that content online without having to export and then re-import. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to find my source library, which is in the collaboration portal right here. I'm going to drill down to the libraries, and then I am going to go ahead and select the documents library. In the destination pane, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to browse down to my destination library, which I have named conveniently Replicated from Collaboration Portal. Once I've selected my source and my destination, I can then go ahead and add this to my replication queue. At this point, nothing has been done. I have simply made the configuration. Now, once I have my libraries in the queue, I can go ahead and reorder them. So if I have more than one, I can choose the order in which they are replicating. I can choose whether it is one-way replication or two-way replication. I can choose whether this is a real-time replication or a scheduled replication, and I can enable and disable this mapping. I can also select a profile, which has more options in it. I will be getting to those in a moment. You can save any profiles that you create so that you can use them over and over again. And then my source and destination agent groups allows me to do a little bit of load balancing so that I don't have to worry about which agent is going to do the work. I can specify that. Now, once I've gone ahead and selected my source and destination, if I want to do something different than the default profile, I can come up to Profile Settings. When I click on Profile Settings, I am going to be given the ability to create different profiles, modify different profiles, and then save those for later use. So if I go ahead and in the default profile, under the sub profile, I can create a new set of options and then use those. So I'm going to go ahead and say I don't want security replicated. I want entirely for inheritance to provide the security in the destination. I can go ahead and select whichever bits of configuration I want to replicate, or I can select no replication for configuration. I can also select options for dealing with item dependent column and content types. I can also decide whether or not I'm replicating content. So if I wanted to replicate the security and configuration but not the content, I could do that as well. I am going to replicate the content. However, I'm not going to replicate any workflow definitions or instances, user profiles, or metadata service and terms. I just want to replicate the content. So now I can either discard these changes or I can save this with a new name. Once I've saved that with a new name, now that sub-profile is available to be saved into a default profile. Now I can look at my conflict options. So I've selected not to move configuration, so these options are grayed out, but I can determine which configuration is going to win, whether it's the source or destination. For content, I can select whether the data source always wins, the item with the latest modification times wins, or the item with the higher version number wins. I do not have versioning turned on, and I am always doing a source to destination one-way resolution, so it is defaulted to overwrite. I can change my filter options. I can set a filter based on anything known about the content, and then I can do mapping if I need to map the username, the domain name, or I need to map a value from one column to another. I want to take what's in column A, put it in column B. I can do that as well. Then I have the advanced options where I can compress the data. I can do differential data compression to accelerate the replication. That is going to require some storage space on both ends. I can also enable byte level replication, which will move only the bytes that change, not the entire document. Again, that does require setting up some storage space on the hard drive on both ends. And then if you have a license for our backup tool, you can perform a backup before the replication. Network control allows you to throttle your network traffic so that you can determine when you want your replications to happen and how much data they can use at what time. So I am going to go ahead and now save this profile as a content only profile because I'm only moving the content and no other configurations. When I close the profile settings, I am back to my queue view so that I can look at my queue, what has been selected, and I can go ahead and select new source and destination if I want.